This is an exam question about the effect of environmental factors on populations. It says figure 3.2 shows a population curve of unicellular, single-celled, photosynthetic, meaning that they will use light to convert inorganic matter into organic matter, so carbon dioxide and water into glucose and oxygen. So we're told that it's algae and it's in a freshwater lake. We've then got figure 3.2, we've got number of individuals per decimetre cubed side, and we've got the months January to December along the bottom, and then we've got the population curve. So we can see here this population curve follows the general population curve that we've learnt. So we've got the lag phase, and that's where the population starts to increase slowly. We've got a log phase, where you've got rapid growth in a population, and then we've got a death phase, where the number of deaths exceeds the number of new photosynthetic organisms being produced. The question says, explain, so we've got to use our science, how a change in environmental factors, so this is important that the environmental factors are changing, could account for the sudden rise, so why is it increasing, and fall. So we've got to talk about both, and that's in the population between May and September. So that's the part of the graph that we need to be looking at. So as we're looking at this, as we go through the months, April, May, June, July, temperatures in those months generally is increasing. So we've got a rise in temperature from May to June, July, and that's going to mean that the enzymes of the photosynthetic organism, the algae, are going to work at an increased rate. So we've got an increased rate of enzyme activity. In the months May, June, July, we've also got greater light intensity. Make sure you talk about light intensity, not just mentioning light. And we've got increased day length. So we're going to have more light hitting the photosynthetic organisms. So all of that, photosynthesis and enzyme control reactivity, we've got greater light intensity, we've got increased day length, so we've got more light, is going to lead to increased photosynthesis. Which is going to lead to increased growth of the algae. And that's going to lead to more algae, sometimes known as an algal bloom. Right, so that's explained why there's an increase in growth. We could also mention, I suppose, that there's more minerals in the water because the farmers might be adding fertiliser to the fields during these months, so more runoff, so more minerals from runoff from agriculture. So that would cause a greater increased rate of photosynthesis as well, and more growth. Right, so that's explained why there's an increase in populations in the algae. Right, you can see here that towards the end of June, beginning of July, that the population is obviously overshooting the carrying capacity of the habitat, in this case the freshwater lake, because it very rapidly goes into death phase. We don't have a stationary phase, there's no stationary phase. And the stationary phase is where new algae birth rate is equal to death rate. That's missed here. It overshoots carrying capacity from log phase straight into death phase. So we can say that it's overshooting carrying capacity, and the carrying capacity is the the maximum population size that a habitat can sustain. Alright, so it overshoots carrying capacity of the habitat. So now we've got death rate being greater than birth rate. So what are the reasons for that then? Well, going through July, end of July, August, September, there's less light. So we've now got lack of light from July to September. So we're going to have decreased photosynthesis. So less growth. Any minerals that were in the water will have been used up during growth. So the minerals are exhausted. They're all used up. So that's going to lead to a decrease in growth. The algae might be eaten by consumers, herbivores, and that's going to cause an increase in death rate in the population, causing, alright, so all of that is going to cause the algae population to decrease. And there also might be increase in toxins. So from this exponential growth, these algae, as they're decaying, etc., are going to make more toxins. Those toxins will increase in the lake, and that might actually cause increased death rate. Toxins, or it could be carbon dioxide from respiration. So that's going to cause a decrease in the algae growth. Right, just one final point. You need, whenever you've got a graph with data, you need to make sure that we're mentioning data, alright, and that we're using numbers from the graph. So we can say that it rises from approximately 400, so between 400 and 500, to about 5,600. So we can say it rises from 500 to 5,600. And again, we can talk about the data for when it's decreasing. And it's going to fall in September to about 900 individuals per decimeter cubed. So that's the answer then for how the environmental factors changing would account for a sudden rise in the population of algae and a fall in the population of algae in a freshwater lake.